Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here, for choosing my room. Today, I want to start asking you something. How many times in a day you get frustrated or confused by using an object you interact with? Maybe it's your mobile phone or a new application, or even the coffee machine that sometimes doesn't work and early in the morning, you don't get your work. And this is how start your day. And you are really in a bad mood. So if this is familiar to you, in any case, you are in the right room. We're going to talk about how actually we can improve experiences in everyday life. You don't need to be a UX designer to do that. You don't need to be a unicorn, a mythical creature in any way. You just need to be a human person, a human being, and understanding people with who you are interacting with. So before we go into the heart of the presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Chiara Aliotta. I am an Italian designer, but I live on a beautiful island in Greece. I am the art director and founder of my own agency called Until Sunday, and I like to think about myself as a creative thinker, a traveler as well. I like traveling a lot. I like traveling because I like getting inspired by other people. I'm really curious, chatty sometimes, but this is who I am, and I like who I am, and it really helps me a lot in my job, understanding other people, observing them. I'm a cat lover, and I love sweets, which is something you're gonna find out really soon at the end of this presentation. So let's go into what is experience. So you would be surprised how experience happens on two different levels. What we usually do is to stop at the first level, the cognitive level. The cognition processes are all related to languages and planning, problem solving. This is what we do, and we are really good at it because those things are reliable. I mean, they are quite similar to every human being, unless we have some problem or some part of our brain is damaged. But emotions, those are really difficult to predict. And this is why most engineers try to neglect them. Because, let's say, we can't make everybody happy. So the problem with emotion is that they are unreliable, they are unpredictable, and we always forget them. But we can't have an experience, we don't combine those two elements. If we want to sell a product, we need to work on a brain level, but also on the heart level. So this is what the talk is all about. And we are going to explore, first of all, the brain. And I'm going to tell you that by introducing you the 7 fundamental principles of design. Those are principles you will find in a book that is written by Don Norman. He's a psychologist and cognitive engineer. He's really famous for writing a book called The Design of Everyday Things. So those principles are quite famous if you know how to design a product. You may know about those principles, but I'm going to introduce them in a completely different way. As I told you, UX is something that you experience in everyday life. So I'm going to show you a week, an hypothetical week of a day of a designer, or every other person here in the room, and explore that day by day how I actually found out about those principles. So let's start with the first day. Monday. So Monday is the day when I learn about discoverability. And Don Norman says that discoverability is the possibility to determine what actions are actually possible to be done looking at a device. Any device. It could be your mobile phone, a laptop, a website, anything. So this is me on Monday morning. Usually what I do is having some administrative skills, that means, and tasks. What I do is going out. I don't stay in the office. I want to start my day in a different way, not in the office. It's Monday, so yeah, it's better start the week in a different way. What I do is take my laptop with me, and what I try to use is the trackpad. Usually, I don't remember all the gesture I can do with it. There is no way I can remember them. It really takes time and energy. I use this tool just once a week, and I don't want to waste the space, which is limited in my brain, limited in every brain human beings have. So what I do is trying to guess. So if I want to move or swap from one application to another one, I just need to guess. There is no way to discover the gestures. So I try with 2 fingers, and then with 3 fingers, and actually, probably I have done many different gestures, but I didn't get what I wanted. So probably swapping from one application to another one. So at the end, I'm really, really puzzled. I don't know what to do. So this is about discoverability. This is not different from people landing on a web page and they don't know actually how to navigate a website. They don't have any clue. You don't give them any clue. They are missing hints, so they can't find, for example, a menu tab because it's hidden somewhere, or they can't find a slider controls. If you don't give them hints, that doesn't mean, it means that your product is not easy to be discovered. So, is there a solution that I found for this problem specific? Yes, of course. I rely on a sticky notes. That means that I have a little notes next to my laptop every time I use the trackpad, so I can read it anytime I need to do zoom in, zoom out, swap from one application to another one. So I remember how many fingers, how many times I need to tap on my trackpad when I use this one. So I rely to something external, which is called the knowledge of the world. This is what we usually do. So we add some nodes that keep aside, it's a memory external outside our brain. So, the first lesson we learned here is about discoverability. The first thing is the first impressions always count. You don't have the possibility or the opportunity to engage with your customers twice. So be careful. If they don't understand how to discover, how to land, how to navigate your product or any application you create, you lost them. You lost them for the first time. And design intuitive and simple things. That means that you need to minimize decisions. You need to increase efficiencies. This is the way you can respect your users' time and energy. So, Tuesday. The day is moving fast, and this is what I learned. This is the day I learned about affordances. Affordances, according to Don Norman, are a relationship between the properties of an object and the capability of the user to understand how to use it. So, for example, affordances are this one. I know that this is for grabbing my cup. This is what is an affordance. This is an handle, and I understand that. A knob is made to turn, or a metal plug is made to pull or push, depending. So affordances are really funny things because you can create also anti-affordances. And this is what happened actually with our insect screens. We live on an island, which is a great place for every kind of bugs, even the one I'm allergic to, like wasp, bumblebees, and mosquitoes. So what we do is in our offices, in all the windows of our office and house, we have insect screens, so some kind of nets that protect me from any insect. The affordance of those nets is about this invisibility, so that I can see through the environment side, so they don't obscure the room. But the problem is there is also an anti-affordance, which is the invisibility as well. Many people try to walk through it. And this happened with glass doors as well. If you check on YouTube, you may find thousands of funny videos about people trying to walk through invisible surfaces. And this is about affordances. And this is about affordances that are not visible. So what is happening here is not different from when you're trying to writing probably a text on your website or an application or in a software, but there is a low contrast, or maybe the text is too tiny, or maybe too big to be read. In this moment, you are preventing people to read what you wrote. And if you think about website, which is 95% is made of typography, well, you are really damaging the experience in that moment of your users. So, did I find a solution for the insert screen and reduce accidents? Yes, I did. I add a big sticker, a red sticker, so that people actually can see there is something between them and the environment in front of them. So they don't. The accidents were reduced a lot, but still we have some problems. This sticker is called signifiers, and I'm going to show you what it means on Wednesday, so in 1 day from now. So let's go for the second lesson, which is about affordances. So what we learn is don't hurt anyone. Life is already complicated. People don't need designers, don't need developers, or software engineers to make life even more difficult. So let's try to create an experience that is the less disruptive as possible. And perception is important. Affordances are useless if they are invisible. So make sure there is a good communication of the affordance, how you can use it. And remember that people don't like to guess. They don't like to look at things and try to understand, unless you want to teach them something. So, Wednesday. This is the day I learned about signifiers. So the red sticker that I told you before, this is a signifier. Actually, signifier are any mark or sound that communicates appropriate behavior to the person. So Wednesday is the day that I use for a social experiment. You must know that to be a good UX designer or to understand UX, you can't stay inside a room and just pretend to be a UX designer. You need to go outside, observe people, how they interact differently from you on a given context. So this is what I do, is standing from the elevator. So you may imagine me, now you may fear me if you are in front of the elevator, but usually I look how they use the destination controls. So those little elements. And it's funny, it's really funny how confusing the simple interface is for some people. So I'm going to project this problem to you. So let's imagine you are at the third floor, but the elevator is on the second floor. Which button are you going to push, up or down? So which arrow? Where do you want to go? Yeah, indeed. Some people, let's say you want to go to the ground floor. So? Up, down? Down. Okay. You were like, I don't know if you were shy. Some people probably was confused. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, probably you didn't have your coffee. It's okay. Well, I must say there are people who guess there is up. And if you think it's up, you may say, wow, why are you up? Well, people don't really know actually. When they are in rush, they press anything, or they don't really think about. So because there is no feedback, whatever button you're going to press, the elevator is going to come to you. People don't really bother that much to guess. Even if that means that if they press up, they will go 1 floor up, 2 floors down until they get the ground floor, right? So the destination control at this moment is a kind of, no, it's not complicated, but the signifiers may not be related so directly to the elevator, to the person. The people don't know the pattern behind it. They don't know that these direction controls are related to the question, where do you want to go? Which comes from a really old pattern. There was an operator at the beginning of the 19th century when the elevator were invented, that was asking you this question. But now the operator is outside, replaced by those buttons. So what people think, and there is a common belief, that you actually control the elevator, so where the elevator is going to arrive. And if people think the right button to press is up. It happened many times. You can check. Did people press anything? So this is not different from any pattern you introduce in your design. So patterns in UI patterns are really important, especially if you don't want people to explain how things work, how your interface works. So, for example, the hamburger icon. You all know the hamburger icon, right? The 3 little lines. But at the beginning, when they were introduced, because it was a need, screens are shrinking, so we need to condense our information. We couldn't put like a menu item of 6 items in a screen tiny like this one. So we needed to find a way to introduce this pattern. So it was the hamburger icon, which to my clients, when I was telling them, well, we're going to add an hamburger icon here. And they're like, what? A hamburger? Well, 3 lines, what? So at the beginning, I need to justify this signifier somehow. So most of the time, you were finding menu written, and then the 3 little lines. Now we have just 3 little lines or 3 dots, so people get used to this pattern because they understand how actually they can interact with it. So this is about signifiers, and in my opinion, we can find a really simple solution to the destination control, which is a single call button. which is telling you once you press that the elevator is busy now. I mean, you call the elevator, it's going to reach your floor, and that's it. So you remove a little confusion from your user interface. So first of all, lesson that we learned today is about provide context, any kind of context that can make a cohesive experience to your user, and provide cues. If people look puzzled, or they don't know how to use what you designed, it doesn't mean, or they don't know how to use those signifiers, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. Sometimes I had the boss who was telling me, you must think that your clients and your customer are stupid. No, they don't have the creativity or the imagination that we have. So try to think with their mind. And less is more, which doesn't mean that you need to be minimalism, or you need to be just a minimalism, but you need to design with a purpose. That means blending beauty with functionality, wherever you can. So, first day. First is the day that I learned about mappings. And mappings are, according to Don Norman, are the spatial correspondences between the objects, the controls, and the objects we control. So I'm sure you have faced something like this. On Thursday, we usually go in a place of our friend to watch a movie. And after 1 hour of sweat and tears, deciding which movie we want to watch, it's finally the time to switch off the lights. And I'm presenting with this situation. And this is the problem of mapping. I don't really know which one is the switch that's going to switch off the light in the living room. So I'm just guessing. And I tried again, and then again, and then again. And they are so upset with me, and they're like, Chiara, come on, we wanted a movie night, not a dancey party. And I say, yes, you're right, but is it my fault? Do I need to blame myself? Am I stupid? No. 6 identical switches and no way to understand which one is the right one. So this is a problem of mapping. And this is no different from a problem we had lately in a website. There was a slideshow that was working perfectly on desktop. But the problem was that on responsive use of screens, mobile phones, and any tablet, those controls were going far away, were dislocated just under the slideshow, far away from the slideshow they were controlling. So we had people bouncing. That means they were not clicking anywhere. They couldn't understand to what those arrows were referring to the slideshow above, to the text below. The problem was that they didn't understand because those controls were far away from the slideshow itself. So it was confusing people. And this is a problem of mapping. So we adjust the slideshow on responsive use to make sure that those 2 arrows were referring to the images above at the beginning of the website. So what I did was to add the little signifiers to the label. So the next Thursday, I went there with labels, and I say, you know what? We're going to add some labels to your house. I might tell you that he is really glad that we had those labels because he had some problems too to find out which one was the light of his house. So my friend was really happy that I found this solution for him. A really simple solution. So yes. 4th lesson that we learned is about mapping. So mapping is related to the law of Gestalts. And if you know a little bit of the law of Gestalts, you know that people like to screen pages. That means that usually they don't like hanging around. They like to see objects grouped together. And they create groups of objects in a way they can understand content. So people scan their face and it takes less than 3 seconds to understand where they want to go. Use spatial correspondences so that so there is a clear understanding of how the layout of your website, application, software is, and prioritize information. That means if you want people to perform a specific action, make sure that there is a kind of you create some differences between elements. For example, a button can be bigger than another one if you want them to click that one. or change colors or make them more prominent. So it's all about layout. Mapping is all about layout. So Friday, what I learned about feedback. So feedback is what we want to know, is what about the result of our actions, right? You would like to know, for example, feedback is what I would like to have on the website of Topconf after this talk, because I want to be a better presenter, a better speaker, or I want to understand if I can do better or if it was a great experience what you had today. So feedback are incredible and difficult when we deal with human beings. And if you live in Greece or in Italy, you may have experienced something like this in a post office. So let's imagine you are just arrived at a post office or in a bank, and you take your number, you look, there are 8 people in front of you, 2 tellers, you say, you estimate time, you say 30 minutes, 45 minutes until done, until I can go and can reach the teller. But you did estimate something. One of the tellers is going to close, and everything seems normal. At least the other teller doesn't say anything. So the problem is that if you are in Greece or in Italy, people are quite lively. You know, they don't like when things change suddenly, and they would love to have some kind of feedback of what's going on. This is normal, isn't it? We are human beings. We want to know what's going on, the status of the service. So it's what is happening here is that people actually get quite upset about the situation. And this is no different from the way we use, for example, a form. When you fill a form and there is an error, you probably want to know there is an error and where the error is, and you want to fix it. It happened to me while applying to the Topconf speaker that I had to fill a form, and there was an error. The feedback was telling me there is an error. Yeah, fine, but where? I was checking the form twice, 3 times, but I couldn't find any red box that could tell me which one was the error. So feedback, to be feedback, must be informative too. In fact, this is what happened that I asked the organizer to let me know what was the problem. So I sent a screenshot of my form, and I said, look, this is what I've done. Everything is correct. Mobile phone, everything, mails, what I'm doing wrong. And they say, well, you know, Chiara, we forgot something. We forgot to add a constraint in one input field. That means you can't write more than 100 words in the description in your biography or something like that. So I was like, okay, well, you need to fix that because I'm not the only one probably that's gonna write 200 words about his own life. So yeah, you need to do something. So they fixed it, and they were really fast. So the day after, I was able to actually fill the form correctly. So feedback. Information is really important, but feedback must be informative. So you can solve the problem at the post office just by telling people how long it's going to take until a new teller is going to open. So if you really need, the general the ideal way to create or develop a software or anything like an application is to avoid delays as much as you can. But if you really need to do that because it needs time to load a page or there is too much content to load, it's always good that you actually provide any kind of feedback. It's amazing how the perception of waiting time changes when you tell people how much they need to wait, or you tell them their request is being processed somehow. And plan and inform. I was in an airplane, we had a really long flight, 3 hours flight, and it was amazing how many feedback and information we were getting on the flight, so that at the end I started neglecting all of them. But imagine if among those all feedback there was a really important one, like, we are landing now and we have some problem, the plane has some problem. After thousands of feedback, probably I was going to neglect the right one. So again, prioritize and inform. Don't overwhelm people with feedback. Just try to understand which one is the real important one and let them know. So, Saturday, conceptual models. We all have conceptual models because, as I told you, our mind is about simplify things. Conceptual models are the explanation of what the service is, or what the product is, or how something is working. Conceptual models are documentation that Peter Hilton was talking about yesterday, if you were there. So it's really important we explain people how things work. And most important is how actually they can interact with it. We talk about intuitive design, but sometimes people need some hints. So this is my digital clock that I need to switch off every night on a Friday night to avoid the alarm is starting. The problem is that I don't have any idea. After 2 years I was using this digital clock, I don't have any idea how actually do that, because the way the designer did this clock and think this clock should work is completely different from the way I think this clock should work. So there is a kind of gap that can't be filled even by watching or reading the instructions. So the system image, which are the instructions, are not similar to what I think the clock should work. So the other thing I have a problem with, which is related to the design of this clock, which doesn't mean it's all about system model, is that every time I try to snooze it, this clock, because it's rounded, and I bought it because it was rounded, roll off from the bedside table until I need to really physically wake up, grab it from the floor, and put it back. And that time I was like, okay, this is done. Now I'm awake, I need a cup of tea or something. But I'm really in a bad mood sometimes. So again, those gaps can be filled somehow with a really good system image. A good instruction could let me know how actually I can switch off, set off the alarm and set it off again on Sunday morning for Monday morning. So think about when you write documentation, make sure they are clear, they are easy to understand, and there is a correspondence from what you design and what the documentation is telling you to look at. So, unless you don't want, the people start throwing things away, and this may happen. The people throw things away if they don't work as expected. So the sixth lesson we learned today is about the user. It is not like you. I told you before, we like to think we are the users, but we're not a product from the inside. Whatever you design, you know how it works. You know really well. So you can't be the user. And step into your user's shoes. So feel a little bit of empathy. Don't add even more hassles. Don't add even more pain to their lives. And find out what makes people thrill. And be consistent. Your design must be predictable and reliable. This is why Apple are really good at it. They build trust around people, and they have so many customers because they build something. They set the right expectation, they meet the customer's needs. This is what is trust. So, Sunday. So we are almost at the end of the week, and we are going to talk about constraints. And this is the day that my husband and I hone our craft skills by building an IKEA drawer. And usually when you open an IKEA drawer, it's a flat package, and then it becomes a 3D dimensional drawer, and it's amazing. It's like, I made it. And you can do everything with just one tool, with this little tool. And the problem is that some of the screws and the panels look like interchangeable. You can use this on the top and the bottom. It seems like everything looks the same. The only thing is that after a few hours of sweat and tears, you may end up to have something completely different from what you bought. Completely. You have some wheels in your hands. Where do they go? Well, we have 4 wheels, but 2 are in my hands. And then you have screws everywhere. So something is missing. What is missing really is that there are constraints. The constraints are limiting the way those pieces interact with each other. Constraints is something that we use to ensure security in our websites and applications that we use, right? Logins or two-factor authentication, the recaptures, those are all constraints that we use to ensure that the user has a safe experience in our website, that nobody's gonna steal their data. Well, after Citizen4 yesterday, I have some doubts, but anyway, usually constraints works, and if you do that in the right way, you may ensure that there is a really useful and pleasant experience at the end of their journey. So what we do usually is we take all the whole thing apart with our drawer. And once we build some kind of monster, we take the whole thing apart and we start from the beginning by looking at the instruction this time more carefully and trying to spot the differences between screws and panels. So, and at the end, we get our beautiful drawer. So the 7th element that we understand and we learn today is about constraints. Present few choices. Don't make people take too many decisions. Just present 2 or 3 maximum. Suggest the desired action. That means that if you want people to complete the task, you are free to suggest people what to do. Maybe indicating steps, dividing things in steps, or make them sure that they complete the task by each step before moving forward. These are constraints. And prevent errors. We are human beings. We are amazing kinds, we are amazing creatures, but we are meant to fail. We are full of errors. We are not perfect. So as designers, as developers, as engineers, you need to think about the imperfect nature of the human beings and design around errors, or try to make errors to redress errors if there are any. So, cognitive and emotion. We analyze the brain, but we didn't see it about the heart. And the heart, unfortunately, you won't find in any book, because this is only belongs to the way I work. And what I found really useful, and I'm going to show it to you, is called the positive reinforcement cycle. So once you analyze all these fundamental principles of design, now you have a product that is actually working really well, but you need to sell it. And you can't sell a product telling just about the features or what amazing things you can do with it. You need to find a way to appeal, to give value, and to give meaning to this product somehow. And this is where emotion comes to play. So, there are 3 qualities that we need to take care. And I'm going to do that, not by showing you any products, but making you your day, hopefully a nice experience, with a cupcake, because you all experience cupcakes. So I have here red velvet cupcake that I bought yesterday. And because everybody loves sweets, well, I do, a lot, you may understand the feeling. So it's all about aesthetical things. It's not about functionality. It's all about aesthetical. And I want to make sure that this cupcake is going to make my tummy happy. So the first thing I do when I buy a cupcake, it's all about appealing, the aesthetical appearance of this cupcake. So I step inside a pastry shop, as I did yesterday, and I'm exposed to a vast variety of cupcakes and sweets of any shape and colors, and you really don't know which one to take, and you cannot taste all of them to make up your mind, of course. So you are moved by your gut feelings. You go there and you say, this is a nice one. I like red. Actually, red is my favorite color. And I say, this is nice. So the pastry chef behind the teller is telling me, well, actually, this cupcake is a really nice one. And usually, you're really lucky. The last 2 left. Usually, they go away in the really morning. And if you want, you can have both. They're really great. We just bake them, and we bake them in the morning, so they're really fresh. So in that moment, from appealing, this cupcake, which is a common cupcake, becomes the cupcake. So this is the cupcake I bought yesterday, and everybody wants in the morning, and I was really lucky to get. And so it has a value, a completely different value in this moment. This product right now has changed its status from one common cupcake to a really important one to me. So I'm buying it. And what I start to be, this is an experience. As soon as I buy it, which is something I'm going to do right now, it's meaningful, because this cupcake is wonderful. It's so tasty. It's really nice, and I wanted to share with everybody the experience. And this is how it happens with products that are really successful, that give you a really great experience because they meet my expectation. So this is how an experience becomes meaningful to you. I'm already planning my next purchase. I want to throw a party with just cupcakes. This is how I do it. I want to share it with everybody. In fact, if you are enough brave, you can stop after the presentation, you can grab the other one here in the box, because there actually were just 2 left. So this is how the cycle reinforces itself, by appealing, giving value and meaning to experience to other people, to other users, to other customers by just sharing the experience. So there is only one tiny problem with it. People who had already this experience, so I had already this red velvet cupcake, they don't want probably to have another cupcake. They want to have a new experience. And this is why human beings usually get used and saturated with experiences that are always the same. So our aim, our job as designers, engineers, developers is to add surprise and novelty to saturated experiences all the time. So we saw together about the elements about cognitive. So we saw the 7 principles, fundamental principles of design. But the cognitive, the brain doesn't work without the heart. So if you want to learn, if you want to sell a product, make sure you make an experience that is appealing, valuable, and meaningful. This is the only way we have to give back to people, to give back control to people's lives. This is the only way we have to give to our users full control of their lives and to their emotions. Thank you so much.